Yum, yum!
Hello, Pascal here for another fun project with Marvelous Designer and Modo. And we're gonna create this.
Wow!
Pretty cool, huh? So let's get started. You'll see it's very simple. So I've prepared the three shapes we're gonna need to start the project. So the base for the float, the head, and the tail. And we're gonna start with the float, so I'll deactivate these two. First thing we're going to do is clone the circle, this, and in the 3D view we want to flip it and put it above the other one. It really doesn't need to be precise. Alright, then go back to the original, right click, offset as internal line. That creates this line inside the shape, so for this purpose we're going to make it like this. Then right click again, convert to whole. Here we go. Now we're going to sew the pieces together. Okay, and before we run the first simulation, we're gonna add some pressure since we want it to be full of air. We can add quite a bit. All right, and spacebar to simulate. And pretty cool. All right, next thing, the head and the tail. So let's start with the head. Activate, clone, same thing here, we need to place it in 3D space, 3D view. There we go. And then do some sewing. I have only two lines to sew, this one and this one. These are curve points. I kept one stiff point here. That's up to you. You can do whatever you feel like. So these two pieces and these two. And same thing, add some pressure and run the simulation. Yep. It flies away, but we're gonna keep it down. All right, so let's deactivate these and take care of the tail. Same thing, clone. And this is not activated, so we should activate. Here we go. And sew the sides together. Add some pressure. and simulate. Because of the air pressure, it flies away, but we'll make sure it stays down like this. So now we're going to reactivate everybody, and we're going to create the holes in on the top of the float. So this side is the one that's above. That's where we need to create the holes. So first thing to do is remove the symmetry, because we want the holes only on the side, on the top. Then use the internal line tool here and create the hole for the head. Like this. Right click, convert to hole. And the one for the tail. And this one, we're not going to make a perfect circle. And maybe slightly smaller like this. That can always be adjusted later. Convert to hole. Here we go. So this, we said it was going to be the tail and the head, so let's turn this around like this. All right, so now the circles have 4 segments, and the head and tail only have 2 at the bottom, so we need to cut to add 1 segment in the middle. So use the point tool, right click, uniform split, number of segments 2, and you have 1 on each side. Same thing here, put the point, right click, uniform split, and okay. And now we need to saw. So let's make sure we see which side is which. So this side is here. And here. Okay, so we need to saw this side to this side of the circle. Here we go. And then the other side of the head. I like having things symmetrical, so there we go. And if you sew 2 pieces together and it's reversed, you don't have to undo. You can just press Control or Command B, and it flips the direction. So, little jump cut here. Marvelous Designer crashed on me, which happens quite rarely actually. So we are back, and the autosave works pretty well, as I was able to retrieve the scene where I was. So we're going to simulate to attach the head to the float. Here we go. Excellent. We can stop, and now take care of the tail. So I had deactivated it so it wouldn't be in the way. Activate, and let's do some sewing. But first let's move it closer to where it should be. That's fine. All right, so sure we're good, and spacebar to simulate. Excellent. Gonna save project to make sure. So we have the basic setup here. We just need to adjust a few things and we can move on to the animation. First thing to do is to give a little more detail to the mesh. So let's set the particle distance to 10. Yeah, that's already better. Oh, and by the way, for the fabric, stop this. For the fabric, I'm using the preset, which is called Duck. It's the denim preset. You can choose whatever you want. It's, you know, it always depends on the shape of your object and the quality of the simulation and a lot of details. So whatever works is, to me, is my motto. So there are things we can adjust still. The first thing is to get a little more detail on the sides of the float. So we're going to select the float and add some elastic. The strength might be really too much, we're going to see. It really crumples everything down. So we're going to lower the strength to maybe 1 or 2. The ratio is the number of folds for the length. So the higher the number, the more folds you get for the length. So let's keep it around here. Good. I don't want to touch the... Well, we can try this also if we want to add the elastic. I mean, that's really up to you. I sort of feel like it looks better with that for the head and the tail. Let's make also sure that everything is in quads. Yes. And the last thing we want to do is adjust the neck and the tail where they meet the float, because I feel like would be better if this was a little more curved in like this. And maybe convert to curve. Resimulate. Okay, maybe the tail is fine. All right, so let's animate this now. What we want to do is select everything, make sure we see all the settings, and lower the pressure. And instead of 0, we're going to make it maybe -2. And run the simulation again. Let it really settle. Put this down. Don't hesitate to, tear it apart. It will find its way back. Okay, so what we also want is the starting position to be folded. So we're going to use the selection tool here, right one side, and just move it like this. Simulate again. Wait till it settles. Here we go. So now let's do the other side, or maybe a little less than that, like this. And let's see how it sorts this one out. So there are a lot of folds here, but this would be the technique you would use to fold sheets, for instance, or towels, things like that. So this was easier. And we really want to wait till it's completely settled and clean. So let's inflate the float. First thing we're going to do before we do that is put the pressure back on from -2 to 70 for the whole object, and go to the animation workspace. So, this is where we're going to record the animation. And I'll show you these in a second. So let's just simulate and see what happens. And record at the same time. Go. And when you think it's done, just stop the simulation. And there we go. So now, Marvelous Designer works with frames. So DisplayNet is frames. So there's no frame per second here. So you have to anticipate what your scene is going to be in your 3D program. So this is about 30 frames. So this would be 1 second if you rendered at 30 frames per second. It might be a little short. The way to make it longer is to go here. When you raise the scene time warp, as it's called, it's going to export the simulation at a higher frame count. So let's export the animation now. Marvelous Designer is going to export one mesh, which is going to be at the state it's at the end of the simulation, so this, plus an MDD. File, export, MDD. And we name it. And we get the same dialog we get when we export an OBJ. So we want single object, weld, thin, millimeters, and player region only. So only this will be exported and not the whole timeline. And okay. So we are now inside Modo, and let's import our objects. So first, the OBJ in millimeters. Let's take it out of its folder. Rename it. And what I like to do is delete surface normal and press Shift Tab to get into P-subs. Now we have to go to the Setup tab to access the MDD file in the Deformers tab here. Click on it, load the file. It's added here as a deformer. Make sure the scale is 1 millimeter as well. And you have your animation. Now, all you have to do is shade it and texture it, and you have a beautiful animation. And it doesn't have to be duck floats. It can be beach balls, mattresses, or you need to go to the beach, really. So, have fun. Bye.